It is 2024 and we are gonna do a tier list of the best games for drifting in 2024. Number 1, Japanese Drift Master. The game looks amazing, the vibe, the gorgeous city, the details. There are events in the game as well, racing, drifting events, tofu delivery, and steering wheel support is included as well. You can tune cars, modify however you like. I believe the game is built on Unreal Engine, and that's probably why the game just looks so good. Drifting physics in itself are a bit odd, seems a bit too grippy, but if in the future we can kind of like change the tire pressure or in any other way kind of slow the car speed down so we can drift more easily, that would fix the drifting issue. Because the game has proper drift tracks as well, very cool drift tracks, so a lot of potential for this game. Now this game does not have car damage though, keep that in mind. And currently there is a free demo version up on Steam as well, so that's pretty nice. You can try out the game for free, boys. So this game I'm gonna put in B tier. Number 2, Toga Shikai, an Initial D inspired game made by the same developers of Initial D, except Toga Shikai is not free. The graphics are pretty much the same as Initial D. Online does work, you can open lobbies with other players or join other players' servers. No car damage, and the physics are really arcadey. It is recommended to play the game on controller, but keyboard and steering wheel works. There is one very cool game mode in this game as well, it's called tofu deliveries. So basically you're gonna drive on a narrow toga road with a time limit without damaging the tofu in the car. Now game's about $17 on Steam, which is a little bit too high for the game. I feel like it should be $10. Car customization, pretty good. A lot of different upgrades in terms of visual and performance. I'm gonna put this game on D tier. Number 3, Live for Speed. Now this game is older than your mom. Best part is there is free version of the game as well, so you can kind of test out the game for free. And if you enjoy the game, you can upgrade the game from free tier to paid tier, and this way you get access to mods. One thing that really annoys me in Live for Speed though, you can do like 2 or 3 laps of drifting and then your tires give out. Then you have to reset your car to get new tires again. And I do understand it's realistic that tires give out, but it gets real annoying real fast. As for physics, they're bonkers. I love them. Graphically, nothing bad to say about the game. It looks old, but it doesn't look bad. And we also have crash damage in Live for Speed. Obviously not as good as BeamNG, but you can completely ruin your car in Live for Speed. Overall, plenty of servers to join, a lot of players still playing it. I'm gonna put Live for Speed on A tier. Number 4, The Crew Moto Fest. Now the city in that game looks absolutely amazing, so good. Kind of similar to Forza Horizon 3. Now something I don't like is that Crew Moto Fest city doesn't have people walking around on the city, but Crew 2, the previous game, had. So that's a downgrade in Crew Moto Fest. Now the physics, they're not that great for drifting. Moto Fest just feels too arcade. But there is a little trick to drifting in Moto Fest. Let me tell you the secret. Do not put max upgrades on your vehicle. The more you upgrade your car, the grippier it gets with each upgrade. Another important thing you have to know is that some cars have drift spec versions, so you can't drift any car. So keeping those 2 tips in mind, you can easily go drift through the city. I'm gonna be putting MotoFest into C tier. Number 5, GTA 5 5M. Very underrated if you're a drifting fan. Not only do some of the servers support steering wheels, you can also have massive car meets in servers, like people popping their hoods. The car meets are literally wild in 5M. As for drifting physics, they are arcade, but they're not bad at all. The worst thing about drifting in 5M, I'd say, is the desync. As for drift maps, the content is pretty much unlimited. Graphically, it's good. If you use mods, you can make your 5M pretty much look like GTA 6. Code 94 currently is a server I know for a fact that supports steering wheels. I'm gonna be putting 5M on B tier. Number 6, CarX. Now, with all the issues and bugs aside, for drifting, it's one of the best games. Wheel support is so good. Is it a simulator? No, but not too far off compared to some other games. And it's one of the few games where you can just hop on a server and casually join a 10-man tandem train like it's nothing. The game's easy, beginner friendly, perfect if you're on keyboard, controller, or a steering wheel. CarX is also on consoles, Nintendo Switch, switch, phones, microwaves, any device works. They're also working on a new game, CarX Street, which I have heard should come soon on PC, at least the early access version, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. But the current CarX game has no real competition. Car customization, very good. And a lot of mods on PC to juice up the game as well. For VR fans, yes, this game does support VR headsets as well. And we now also have modded tracks. CarX, I'm gonna put on S tier. Number 7, Initial Unity. This is a free game, completely free, but the game is not on console and has no wheel support. You can play this game on multiplayer, by the way. Basically, there's some online Toga battles you can do with other players. Not too many cars in the game, but the most famous Initial D cars obviously are in the game. Initial Unity is recommended on controller, but you can play it on keyboard as well, but not steering wheel. Now, I can't say too much negative stuff about Initial Unity because it's free. But I am gonna say I'm not a fan of the physics. It feels like playing a mobile game, but on PC. Graphically, it's like any other Unity-based game. It's pretty mid. Also, not a lot of content in the game. Like, you can play for like an hour or two. Definitely, you will be entertained for a little while. But again, what do you expect from a developer if they don't even get paid for making this game in the first place, right? I'm gonna put Initial Unity on D tier. Overdrift Festival. Now, fun fact, recently Overdrift Festival added Goose Island, a map for me, which, by the way, I specifically told them not to. I literally told them, focus on finishing the map, focus on fixing the game, adding more features, but hey, they added the Goose Island, and some people are really mad that, oh, the developers are just wasting the time on adding YouTuber islands on the game instead of working on the stuff. That was not my idea, boys. That was not my idea. And I am not sponsored by the game in any way. I mean, except they are giving me keys to give away to you guys on live streams. But they're not paying me. Now, the physics of the game are like 6 out of 10. We literally memed back in the day that the game was called Oversteer Festival because you would just oversteer constantly. But they kinda made it better with the recent updates. But the drifting physics overall kind of feel like Forza Horizon 5. But no, Forza Horizon 5 does have better physics, don't worry. Now, the open world map is big and there's 2 open world maps, US and Japan, but they feel empty. Even though in some areas there's like AI cars as well, but it feels empty. The game is only on PC right now and not on console, so you can only play it with your PC buddies, but multiplayer does work in the game, with a little bit of desync. Steering wheel support also works great, even direct drive wheel, a Moza R5 worked in there, but there's just not enough players playing the game. I don't know what it is, but it's just the game hasn't taken off. And also the DLCs are overpriced, and a lot of the cars are behind the paywall, and by a lot, I mean like most cars are behind the paywall. I'm gonna put Overdrift Festival on C tier. Number 9, Roblox Drift Games. Now, I recently got into Roblox Drift Games, honestly just for the memes at first. It turns out though, Roblox is not as awful as it sounds. Now, while there is no steering wheel support, you can actually turn your steering wheel into a controller using Xbox 360 controller emulator software. This way you can use any wheel to play in Roblox, but you will never have force feedback. As for the physics, not great. Now, for drifting, there are some games I can recommend, which I've tried out myself as well. Good drift games are Solitary, Wall Tap, and Drift Paradise. Now, if you're not about drifting and you want a good car game, maybe Driving Empire. A lot of people still playing it. There's just so many games, and every day like something new comes out in Roblox. Like, it's really hard to keep up with that. And the games are all free, right? I do like the fact that you can like get out of your own car and move around as well. But I do hate the fact that most Roblox games have no contact with other players. You're just gonna go through people. Anyway, I'm gonna put Roblox on D tier. Number 10, BeamNG. Now, BeamNG is a very hard and frustrating game on a steering wheel. BeamNG fans will say like it's one of the most realistic car games. I say it's not. Hear me out. In terms of drifting physics, they're lacking. Feels nothing like real life drifting. I don't know what you guys are drifting in real life. BeamNG is far from it. However, if you do racing or off-roading, then yes, the suspension and the car damage makes it feel like pretty realistic. Also, this game on keyboard for drifting fans is not the best choice. Controller, it's pretty good. You have more control over your angle in the front axle. The most satisfying part, however, is obviously crashing into stuff. Not a single game will beat BeamNG's crash physics. But if you do want tight tandems with people online, then this is not the game for you. BeamNG is more focused on like solo gameplay. Although you can use BeamNP software to access online servers, which in my experience has always been very laggy, especially with full servers. Graphically, I have nothing bad to say about the game. I don't really care about graphics too much, more about the content itself, and there is just so much content in BeamNG. I love the fact that you have a built-in repository of endless mods you can download. Also, BeamNG now has VR support, which is pretty dope. I will put BeamNG on A tier. Number 11. Forza Horizon 5. Graphically the most beautiful game for drifting on PC. You can't argue with that. Great car customization. Drifting physics are pretty good, even though they're not perfect. You know, the oversteer issue is a bit too aggressive. Wheels work great, even though every time I launch the game I have to unplug and replug all my devices, but that's fine. When they work great. Force feedback feels really good. Now the map itself is bland. It's empty. The cities are small. I did play Forza Horizon 3 as well and loved the city over there. It was awesome. Now online is awful in Forza Horizon 5. The fact that if you want to play online with a bunch of guys, you first have to add them into your friend list, then the other side has to accept, and then you have to convoy, then you have to invite all the people that are only in your friend list just to play with some bros. Like, if you want to play with random people every day, it gets annoying so fast. Otherwise, it's a great game. Drag races are a lot of fun. There's slight car damage as well, more like scuffs. Car sounds are good. Overall, a great game, but does get a little boring after a while. And the updates are usually really underwhelming. Just like a few cars and just that's it. Enjoy. I'm gonna put Forza though on A tier. Number 12. Forza Motorsport 8. So this game is the equivalent of Gran Turismo but on Xbox. The graphics are amazing, physics are good, but this game does require a lot of grinding to get multiple cars with the upgrades you want. Like, this game is definitely more focused on racing aspects, but it nails racing. It feels good. Drifting is not the main focus of the game. The cars also do have crash damage as well, and if you upgrade cars, it changes the car physics a lot. The sad thing is, if you unlock an upgrade, it's only for a single car, not for all cars. So you spend like 3 hours maxing up a car, and if you want to change a car, you get to grind 3 hours again to upgrade the same car with the same specs. You're basically always starting from zero again, which is kind of weird. I'm gonna put Forza Motorsport 8 in B tier. Number 13. Need for Speed Unbound. Now, recently we did get a very important update in Need for Speed Unbound. We can finally, after all these years, disable all the cartoony effects in the game. So they finally listened to the community. Like, they promised that in the beginning, they lied, but now they've come around and did what we wanted all along. Now, the game itself graphically looks very good. Physics are, like in any other game, very arcadey, but listen, Need for Speed has never been about realistic physics, ever. It's more about like fast-paced racing. Now, Need for Speed games do have cops in them, which is a really big selling point. Escaping the cops in all the Need for Speed games was my absolute favorite thing to do. As for drifting physics, they're poop. But there is mods out there which change the physics of the game so you can smoothly drift around the city with no issues. So once again, modders have saved the day. I'm gonna put Need for Speed Unbound on D tier. Number 14. Initial Drift Online. Now, don't confuse this game with Initial Unity. Completely different games. In Initial Drift Online, you can deliver tofu as well. You got the initial day cars in the game. You got missions, quests. But graphically the game looks pretty bad though. Now, it does support online, even though it's pretty wonky, and only keyboard and controller is supported, so no steering wheels. Now, on the open world map, you gotta drive to dealerships to buy new cars, but there's not that many car options, sadly. And the models look pretty underwhelming. The physics are really arcade. Game honestly looks like it's 10 years old, not 3 years old. It does have first-person view as well, which looks pretty neat. You can do online Toga race battles against other players. Overall, not a lot of content in this game. You'll play this for like an hour and you have explored pretty much everything in the game. I'm gonna put this game on E tier. Number 15. Drift Rain. A game made by a company called Midnight Games. It's available on Steam, and when it launched, it was $25, which is crazy. Nowadays, they reduced it to like $5 Roblox, which is more like it. But the physics are an absolute mess. They promise steering wheel support as well, but I never got it working. I tried different wheels as well, nothing. Tire smoke effect looks like they straight ripped it from Need for Speed Unbound. Car customization though, like rims and other car parts, very good. You can lift up the car if you want, do engine swaps, very nice. You can do drift races against NPC cars, but the physics are like playing a mobile game. And even when playing with NPC cars, the AI NPC cars get desync, like they flicker on the screen, which I've never seen that before. I'm gonna put Drift Train straight to F tier. Failure. Number 16. Assetto Corsa. Now there is a proper drift game for all the drifters out there. The sad thing is, it's not worth it for console players, even though you can play it on console. The only thing making Assetto Corsa fun, to be honest, for drifters is the modding. Now VR in this game works amazing. Tried out myself, pooped my pants a couple of times. My brain literally thought I was in real life. Now the default graphics are not great, but you can get filters and other graphic mods to juice up the game. In terms of drifting physics, it's the best game on PC. Now car crash damage, default cars in AC do have crash damage a little bit, but 99% of the modded cars don't have any crash damage at all. Now Assetto Corsa has zero customization on cars. Before you join an online server, you have to basically manually download each modded car that the server is using, or a car pack, to join that specific server, which is pretty annoying. But for drifting, it is still my most favorite game, number one, because the wheel feels great. This is just the closest we have to real life right now. So I'm gonna be putting Assetto Corsa obviously on S tier. This game is superb. Number 17. Torque Drift. Not a fan of this game. Torque Drift literally feels like playing a mobile game, but on PC. The UI even looks like mobile game-ish. They even released Torque Drift 2, which has built-in NFTs and blockchain stuff in it, which just feels scummy. And some of the ridiculous prices on the in-game purchases just blow my mind as well. Now the graphics are below mid, and physics are even lower than that, at least on a steering wheel. I did not have fun playing the game, and it's just too much full of monetization everywhere. Torque Drift straight to F tier. I wish we had a lower tier, but straight to F. Number 18. Gran Turismo 7. Now this game is the equivalent of Forza Motorsport. PlayStation has Gran Turismo, Xbox has Forza Motorsport, right? Both of these games are simcade, more on the simulator side than arcade though. Graphics are great, physics are good, no story, but a lot of cars. Even though it does feel like the content is lacking after a while. But most important part of these types of games is the driving experience. Gran Turismo is basically like a beefed up Assetto Corsa, but with better everything, except we can't mod the game, and it's not on PC. Steering wheel support, amazing as well. You can drift in Gran Turismo 7, even though it is quite hard. You might have to Google some drift setups first, but it's a great looking game. I'm gonna put Gran Turismo on B tier. Number 19, Drift 21. This is not a good drift game. Actually, it's horrible. The physics are straight poop, but where the game really shines is in the garage room. You can individually change your engine parts out. It feels more like a car mechanic simulator type of a game rather than a drift game, but as for drift tracks, not that many. Steering wheel support is bad, the graphics are mid at best. For an hour or two you will be entertained, but it gets boring real quick. So that's the only reason I'm putting this car on E tier. Number 20, Drift King. Now this is like a very early access version of CarX. The physics are not that bad to be honest, but they're not great either. But steering wheel works, and even with force feedback, which is impressive. Car customization in this game is rather limited. Graphics look pretty cheap, but as I understand, it is made by a single developer. Now game is $17 by default, which is too much for this game in my opinion. Should be like $5, $7 or so. And there's not many players in that game, like very few players, but online does work, and it has the typical server list, which is good. It has normal loop drift tracks as well, and some Toga roads as well. Overall, quite impressive for a single developer, but then again, not that much to enjoy over a long period of time, especially with the lack of players. I'm gonna put this game on D tier, but like D plus. I don't know if C or D. Let's go with D. Drifting on D tier. So boys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know what tier would you put this video in. Subscribe as well and stay sideways. Peace.